One. Parce Domine? Is that how you say that? Or how do you say this?
Parce Domine.
Domine.
I don't know what it. I don't know what it means
Latin,
yet.
it's Latin, right?
Oh, it's for sure Latin. That's what all the best writers do.
Right.
They
Makes you
reference.
seem smart.
It's something from Roman Catholicism. It is a short Christian chant, actually.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. All right. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, this
The
season's
translation.
different.
Go ahead.
Right away, we're gonna start with kind of a different feel to this season. It's kind of I don't know. It's almost we're out of the park basically. At least the start in this first episode, and we're in the real world, and we're following around Dolores now.
Yeah.
There's a lot to catch up. There's a lot of things that I felt like first time I watched it, I was very confused. So I had to kind of watch it twice to kind of figure out what was going on. And so basically at the end of season 2, when Dolores puts herself into Tessa Thompson, she then leaves the park as Dolores as Tessa Thompson.
Yeah. So in terms of where we left off at the end of season 2, yeah, so that's how Dolores gets out of the park initially. She puts her brain ball inside of the Charlotte Hale clone,
Right.
and then that once she gets out, she went to the house, I guess, that Anthony Hopkins. What was his character's name? The guy
Ford. Robert Ford.
Robert Ford had in the real world, and so that had sort of been left abandoned, and so that's where Dolores went as Charlotte Hale and made herself a new Dolores body. I guess she's attached to that model, and then then she somehow put somebody else into the Charlotte Hale body
because she had like 4 or 5 brain balls at the end of season 2.
5, yeah, I counted 5.
Was there 5 of them? So and then okay, so we won't ruin the spoil. Like, we'll get to it eventually, but obviously she has put she's built multiple people, and she's built them based off who she's learned who they were and how it's going to help her from the big library simulation that she was in season 2 as well.
Right. So you've seen what, 1 or 2 episodes ahead of me? Because I've only watched this one so far.
I just watched the 3rd episode.
Okay. So yeah, you have to be careful in terms of what you can kind of tell me here about what's going on in this season, but because I'm going to be caught up. Well, I kind of want to go through, so we'll do the next episode, and then we'll do the back. 3rd. Hopefully, we can get caught up all 3 episodes before you before the 4th comes along, and then we can be be along for the ride together after that. So where were we? It was basically Robert Ford. She built I know one of those is Teddy. One of those brain balls she has, I think, would be Teddy or some version of Teddy. And who are the others? Do we have a sense? Like, if you know, you can't tell me, but I guess
I don't know. It has not been revealed. If it has, I missed it. But I would guess, Teddy would be one. Who else would she? I was thinking maybe Bernard, but Bernard's in this episode. But Bernard, but I mean, maybe Bernard's not in Bernard. He's doing that whole scene where he's testing to see if anyone else has accessed him. He doesn't trust something about himself.
Right. So one of the 5 brain balls is Bernard, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, because that's how he got out too. That's what I'm a bit confused of, is like why he's sort of the the fall guy for this. I guess that's all by Dolores' design. Because we know that the Charlotte Hale agent, like the fake Charlotte Hale, goes to this board meeting later on in the episode, and we figure out that they're pinning this on Bernard, and Bernard's been sort of stashed away at a meat farm. He's sort of in hiding. He's Armando.
Armando something.
Armand Delgado.
Delgado, yes. And I was like, is that an anagram? Probably not, but
no. Well, maybe it is. I bet you it is an anagram for something. So Armand Delgado is his new identity. But as far as we know, she got him out. She would have made him a new body, and then he was sort of reborn. And we sort of saw at the end of season 2 that he was he was back in that house, in that lab that's beneath this house.
Right.
So she brought him back online. So, and then in this episode, we see Bernard speaking to his, like, I guess his computer self. This is kind of a new development, that he sort of has control over his own code, and he's able to speak to himself, sort of like his unconscious almost. And he's like, yeah, you haven't talked to Dolores in 92 days, which is, roughly 3 months. So that's how much time has gone by since he's gotten out of the park, or at least since he's left that house.
Yeah.
So the timeline of this is all a little bit suspect, but
he's reminding me a little bit of his character from Oz. Like he's kind of working in like a rough area. He's getting into prison fights. He's got just a big long beard. Bernard does. He almost doesn't seem like the same character. Like it's weird because the robots, they don't go on a bender and grow a beard, and it's just strange. Like the whole vibe of Bernard this season is something's not quite right.
I think like Bernard is like simultaneously sometimes like one of my favorite characters on the show, and also one of my most hated characters on this show, because I'm always like, I don't understand if I'm on his side at any given time. He's very rigid, and I don't really understand what he wants. I guess to be left alone more than anything, it seems like. But yeah, like he stands in opposition to Dolores, and in the preview of this episode, we see, or like sort of the recap, like previously on Westworld, and one of the key lines is like she says to him in the end of season 2, we both have like a purpose in this life. We have something to do in this world, but we're not meant to be friends. Is that what she says?
Yeah, she says basically like we both have the same goals, but we have different ways of going about it, I think is what she says. And then because we will not be together, fighting together. We're you're over there, I'm over here, stay in your lane is basically what she says to him.
Yeah, stay in your lane, exactly. And yeah, so that was a bit interesting. Like, so he's just a pawn to Dolores, effectively. That's all we can really take
that. Well, that's what they're kind of showing us in this first episode, but I don't know if I buy it down the road. I think Bernard's going to be way more of an important character than maybe even Dolores. But right now, it's just Dolores is like, it's the Dolores show. Especially this episode was the Dolores show, and it was good. I enjoyed it. But because like you said, with Dolores, we know what she wants. For the most part, like she's very straightforward character. This season is a little different. She's a little bit more mysterious how she's going about it. Like the first scene is it's the German actor, the Von.
Oh yeah, yes. So we meet Jerry.
Yes,
the German guy living in China.
Yes, he's in China. He's in Beihai, China.
Right,
and so
we meet him, and he's talking to his like assistant. Or his stockbroker, I guess.
Yeah, basically his like financial advisor.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I guess he owns shares of Delos, and it's not going so well after after the massacre at Westworld. So they're like, okay, let's get out of this. Let's I want to sell. And then it's clear that he's not a good guy. He's abusive to his wife. He doesn't care about her dinner. He doesn't care about anything. I think he disses her at least 3 or 4 times. We know pretty early he's a bad guy.
Well, he's a dick. I don't know if he's necessarily a bad guy. Like they don't really.
Well, I think by the end we learn that I think it's basically alluded to that he's responsible for his first wife's death, right?
Right. Yes, and then he goes and he takes a swing at Dolores after she spared him. So yes. He is a dick, but he's also like that's what Dolores says to him. She's like, "I've read your book." Like here, she says this exact thing.
Oh, you got the audio there.
Unless they try to hurt me, which is act like you will. You see?
Yeah. She predicts, yes, you will hurt me. So much like this. Like I'm jumping ahead here, but we meet this AI. Or I guess we don't meet it, but we learn of it later on. This AI called the Rehoboam, the supercomputer that calculates a path for everyone. And so is that sort of like Dolores riffing on that idea that she can kind of predict how Jerry's going to do it. Because how does she have his memories, or she has some of his memories? It's not like she seems to know a lot about him. Things she says she wishes she could unknow.
Yeah, I think it's from the end of season 2 when she read his file, right?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. It seemed like she had a lot of intimate knowledge about this guy, and so she shows up, she hacks his house, and she's there to get money, right? Which she says she already kind of stole before she even show up. She's
not there to get money. She's there to get files that he stole when he used to work for Insight. He stole them and kept them for a rainy day because he thought they'd be worth a lot of money. And they're files to help build. It's before she even builds Bernard, I think, or I don't know. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with her coding the new host that she's making. That's what I took from. I could be wrong, but that was what I gathered. It was like some sort of code that she needed that she could get from him or the park, and she wasn't going back to the park type thing. But
okay, so that was the only reason she did this whole thing.
That's what I gathered from it. But again, I could be wrong. This show moves very quickly, and if you don't know what's going on, you almost have to watch it 2 or 3 times. Kind of like Game of Thrones when it first started. I had to kind of watch it a few times to kind of figure it out. This show's very similar. Yeah.
Well, this was the cold open for all of season 3, and I'm like, okay, what does this mean? I guess this is the plot. The plot of this season, the thread of the season is it's Dolores' war against sort of like the human abusers who created them.
Yes, but there's going to be a lot of there's even in this episode when Jesse Aaron Paul Jesse or whatever, his name's Caleb, when he saves her, at some point she says to him, "You're a good person." So she also considers when she kills Jerry here. And he falls into the pool, and she goes, "Who are you?" And she goes, "The person that set you free." And I'm so curious that she used the word person. She doesn't she looks at herself as a person,
instead of what?
As a robot or an AI, or she looks at herself as an individual.
Yeah,
right.
That's not so surprising.
No, it's not surprising. It's just the word she, I get it, but she could have said to her, "Hey, I'm an AI," or it didn't matter at that point. She wasn't threatened by her whatsoever.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe that's a dumb take, but it's kind of I noticed it when I watched.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's clicking with me necessarily. I wasn't sure what to make of this other than Dolores is on a tear. Dolores is kicking asses and taking names, and
it's fun to watch. It is fun to watch.
I guess, yeah, it is. I overall, before we're gonna walk through the whole thing, but I don't think I watched this twice now. I'm not sure I was super jazzed about this show. I really, obviously the first season's really awesome. Second season I liked a lot, but it took a while to get going. So I hope it's kind of the same thing here, where this is going to take a while sort of to get going.
Yeah, I think it's almost like the show's pivoting though. It's pivoting in its tone. Before it was all about how awful humans were.
Mm-hmm.
And now this season, I think it's going to be how awful AI is. It's going to flip, and that's what they're going to kind of do. They're going to show you more human characters like Caleb. There's more to come, I'm sure. But they're going to show you humans that are flawed, but they're also good, and they're complex. Whereas the AIs are going to have to and it's Bernard kind of knows that, but certain AI like Dolores, like Maeve, kind of have a one-track view of humans. And I think that's what's going to get explored more in this season.
Yeah, I think. Well, I hope so. Yeah, I guess that's where this was going, was the sort of these hosts, these robots, whatever you want to call them, that have been sort of abused for so long by their creators. And this was the season where they're taking the fight to them, right? But between the 3 main robot leads of this show, we got Dolores, we got Maeve, and we got Bernard, right?
Yep.
And I don't know. We'll see what's going on with the Man in Black, Ed Wood. Is it Ed Wood? Ed Harris, sorry. Ed Harris. Whatever form he's coming back in, because we didn't see him in this in this first episode. At least, yeah, he's referenced. But there's 5 main characters on this show, right? So we got those 3 that I just mentioned. Now we have this new character that's played by Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad fame.
Yep.
And of course Ed Harris is sort of like the anchor veteran of the cast. And then, we'll see. I think we're going to see the whichever Hemsworth, the other Hemsworth that's on this show, and a couple others, I guess, that would probably be still kicking around from the earlier seasons. Although I can't really think of who's left. Is that British guy still kicking around? Like that little squirmy writer guy?
I can't really ruin anything for you, so
I thought he died. I thought he died in season 2, but maybe he didn't.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the next few episodes. Things will get explained that even where you thought you had a clear answer, they kind of pivot very quickly in the next couple episodes, and they go, oh yeah, and then they kind of do the writers explain it away type thing. So they do that quite lately. In the next 2 episodes, that's what I noticed quite a bit. In this episode, no, they're more doing setup for this season. But it's still a good episode of television. I mean, it was pretty entertaining all the way through. Although I find what this show has a trouble doing is melding their characters now, because they're not all in the same place. Now, in Game of Thrones, it never seemed to matter because there was always political things going on. Here, it's like just in this episode, Dolores was in China, London, and Los Angeles. She's in 3 different cities just in this episode.
Right. Dolores she's getting around quite a bit. Yeah, I guess in Game of Thrones it worked more for me just because there was more like these factions, and you sort of had their different points of view. Like, I don't know who I'm cheering for necessarily. I don't think it's Dolores. I don't think she's the one. I suppose it's Maeve. Did we even see her in this episode, or did we just get like the sort of the Nazi World teaser where she kind of wakes up?
Yeah, Nazi World teaser at the end of the episode. Yep.
Yeah, right. So, like, really, this was mostly an Aaron Paul and Dolores episode. I guess what's Aaron Paul's new character? Caleb.
Yeah. So sometimes Cal.
Sometimes Cal. Here, do you want me to show her the screen?
Well, yeah, I can show you the character if you want.
Yeah, I can. There it goes.
So there he is. There's Caleb.
Oh, there he is. Yes. Okay, what did I think of Caleb? He's fine. I guess he's sort of a tortured guy. Sort of okay. Like, and I don't know how much they've revealed in the next 2 episodes, but I this is my impression of what he's about, I guess. So he's sort of a washed up soldier, I think. Or something.
Yeah, he was either a soldier or some sort of security guy or something like that. Yeah,
mercenary of some kind. Like, I don't know, that we don't quite see uniforms, but he was in the service with this guy Francis, right? And so Francis is like this buddy, this old war buddy he's talking to on the phone throughout the episode. So this is how we're getting all the introduction to him. I wasn't super interested in. I could kind of see where it was going pretty early, I think. Like, once I realized that this was either his old friend or his old brother or something, or even lover. I wasn't quite sure what it was going to, but I was getting the feeling, especially after that one call he got with the guy said he didn't get the job, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just Sean. I'm the internet guy, or I'm your."
Yeah, he goes, "Are you even human?"
He goes, "Oh, no, but I can do whatever you want." So I don't know, like. I don't know what war was fought here. I guess, like, maybe we'll find it out, maybe we won't. But so far, the only other value I'm getting out of Caleb really is that he is showing me sort of what this human world's about, and we learn that it's like this meritocracy. It's which is kind of interesting. I don't think we normally see that devised, but so basically, the supercomputer, the thing we'll see later, it decides what everybody's like job's going to be or what sort of their potential is.
Yeah, didn't you get a very communist vibe from what they were explaining what that was? Like,
a little bit, yeah. Like, it's didn't sound very capitalist, because I always got the sense that Delos and the world that they came from was very capitalist and very driven by money. And maybe that's still true, but they're also sort of, not a communist, but authoritarian for sure.
Yeah, but like they don't really make it clear like who's the boss. I guess they made it the computer decides who works where, and he keeps trying to apply for jobs, and he just seems like he doesn't even know why he's unqualified. He seems like he's trying to do better. He's doing all the right things, is what they're kind of showing this character to be doing, yet still is having to resort to criminal activities to get money. And it's that's where Marshawn Lynch and I forget the other lady's name, but that's where those two characters came in when he goes under that weird like vigilante app that he's using.
Rico.
Yeah, or Rico.
Yeah, I was watching this with Benny the first time, and he goes, "Well, it's like Grand Theft Auto but on your phone, and you go to little missions, like you pick up packages or you deliver crap or you rip off an ATM machine or whatever it is."
It's incredible. Like it's kind of showing you that what I'm getting from this character is that he is a representation of how messed up this society is. And he sees it and other people see it, but they can't really do anything about it. They just have to live amongst this system, kind of like the hosts. They're just in the system and they have to deal with it. And I think like his character and the hosts are going to bond in a way that it's not humans or AI that are opposed. It's the power structures that be, and that's what they're going to go after.
Right. So it's kind of like it's deciding sort of your potential in life pretty early on. I don't know, like, is it based on what family you're born into, or is it just based purely on what your sort of accomplishments are? That's what I'm a bit confused by. Like, or this machine decides who gets to be the rich and successful and who are like the sort of the worker bees of life or whatever.
Yeah. Is it based off, is it a class system, or is it just, it seemed like it did aptitude tests, like some sort of an aptitude test that he had to do.
And he didn't do well enough?
And he didn't do well enough to get the jobs that he was trying to get. That's what it seemed like anyway. I don't know. But it was like you said, kind of confusing because it's only explained through his perspective. So we don't really have a clear understanding of like how it works yet, other than we know he got denied. We know he did a test. We don't know how well he did on the test or what he was trying to apply for, really.
Yeah, I guess he's trying to move his way up. Is the idea here? Yeah, and then I guess like I have to see where this is going. Everything was leading towards like him meeting Dolores at the end of this episode, and I'm guessing they're going to have some kind of they're going to be important to each other in some way. Well, that's kind of what his main purpose is. Maybe to kind of humanize her again. Maybe make her less evil. Show her that not all humans are bad.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, not just that, but it's like I think they're going to realize together that it's not necessarily humans, but the humans that are controlling the society to not only be okay with all these things, like what they do to the hosts in the park, but also how they treat the lower humans that don't get to be the rich and successful, that are getting awards for things they don't even know what they're getting awards for. Like it seems like
right.
like that's the one. She goes, "What are you getting an award for now?" He goes, "I don't even know." So like,
that's right. Yeah. Well, how's that? But is that any different than today's society, or is it not that far off? Is that the point that this is just a?
Yeah, that's the point. It's showing you that, like, you can just see it right now with what's going on with coronavirus. Why is it that all the NBA guys can get a test in the States like this? But the common person, apparently you have to have had a fever for 3 days straight before you can get a test in California. So like, it just goes to show that this part of society that they're kind of showing you on Westworld already exists today. It's just not as futuristic.
Right. Yeah. Like almost this doesn't even seem that weird to me when I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, okay. Like this is, of course, like especially in like a private healthcare system or something like that, or a society that it's almost like Gattaca, but it's not based on your DNA. It's based on whatever this computer thinks you're kind of worth in life, and that's sort of it. But that's not. But isn't that? I guess we don't have that because I guess if you have good grades, you'll get noticed. And you'll get to go to Harvard and get the best whatever. But is that really true?
Well, it can be, but it also cannot be. I mean, it's all what you do with. Yeah, it's what you do with what you're able to earn or you're given.
Yeah, like I get the impression too. Like if you can't, you still have to do your job once you're in that role, right? It's like Ed Harris, for instance, his character. He's successful because he's smart and he invested in the right stuff and not based on what a computer told him. Because that's only been around since for the last so many years. We learn. I think
what has only been around?
That computer system. They say it's only been around since he was a kid or something.
The meritocracy thing.
Yeah. The what's it called? The Rehoboam.
Yeah, the Rehoboam. Okay, that's the thing that decides where you work, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The meritocracy system. Yeah. So so that means that was not around when Ed Harris was the young guy.
No. So this is a relatively new thing in their society. Maybe around since probably I keep wanting to call him Jesse Pinkman, since Caleb was a kid.
Right. The more I was thinking about that, the more I watch this season or like just the first episode here, I think like as great as the show Breaking Bad was, they probably should have killed Jesse off a little earlier because I think it kind of damaged his career. Because if I just remembered him as the young punk stoner guy, from the first couple seasons of Breaking Bad, it'd be different than like now every time you see him, all you see is Jesse Pinkman, right? Like
you see the broken Jesse, and I think it just helps that we had that Breaking Bad
El Camino
movie. Yeah. So we recently just saw Jesse Pinkman again.
Right.
And
he probably shot this not long after he made that movie.
And and here is Aaron Paul again playing the sort of this tortured soul.
Yes.
This guy who's down on his luck.
Down on his luck, has to resort to other means to get by. Very similar.
This guy who had a lot of
potential could have been. Yes. It's almost the same character, except he's not. Instead of meth, it's technology.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, so I saw them they were putting like these like wafers in their mouth. In the episode, I was like, is that drugs?
I was guessing. I thought it was acid, but I mean, yes, it's definitely drugs because the one guy like strips down to nothing and is like dancing in front of him.
And he was on that as well because what's his name? Jerry. He takes one of these before bed.
Does he? Oh, maybe that's why he was hallucinating.
I thought he was hallucinating because she put those glasses on him, those holographic glasses.
That's what I thought too, but maybe we were wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what was the point of of him taking that. If it was drugs, I thought, oh, it's a sleeping pill, or he took an asprin, or I don't know what it means. And then we see it a few other times, and
that's right. Yeah, we do, and I'm still confused about what that is. No, I'm not sure yet.
Okay, and you're 2 episodes ahead, so you don't have any more information than I do at this point. It sounds of it. Okay. What else? So they rip off the ATM. Fake Charlotte Hale has this board meeting. They're like, we're gonna blame it all on Bernard.
Right.
He's the scapegoat.
Yes.
Then then we saw Bernard in the meat farm. The meat cloning farm, it looked like.
Yeah. Okay. So this was the weird the whole Bernard storyline was I was confused about why these guys wanted to hurt him. Other than that he was wanted, like I got that part,
They just wanted the reward, I guess. Yeah, but that was a little bit later. This was just kind of the first time we meet Armand Delgado.
Yes,
and this is where we see him talking to himself. He's doing the self-diagnostics. I don't know what sets him off to this idea that has he spoken to Dolores lately. I didn't quite understand after even 2 times of watching it what spooked him to wanting to know if something was he missing time or something? I don't know.
It's very possible. Bernard's always missing time. At least it was in season 2, and in season 1 he didn't know who he was.
Yeah. But it's been 92 days since you seen Dolores or talked to Dolores, and he goes, "And would you lie to me, Bernard?" He goes, "No, of course I wouldn't," which means he totally is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess maybe Dolores set him out into the world, and he thinks he's in control and he's able to talk to himself,
right?
But really, she's got like a layer of control there that we don't really realize.
Maybe that's what the code that Dolores needed from Von Strucker or whatever, Jerry from the first. Maybe that's what she needed to be able to control Bernard.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. It's not quite clear yet why she needed that. Yeah.
And then we were over in. We go to London. This is where we meet Liam, the son of the guy who invented the supercomputer.
Right.
Now, when they flash that London screen up, it says London UREW, which I didn't know what that meant.
I don't know either. Yeah.
You have no more information than me. But yeah, so she shows up at this restaurant, and then she's able to convert her dress from a black dress into a longer orange dress.
To like a gold dress, yeah. She does that very quickly, yes.
Yeah, she just pulls out her thing and boom.
And then 3 people are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, some people were surprised by that. So maybe that's not something everybody does every day. Or maybe it is. Or maybe they're just checking her out. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. It was definitely some like baffled looks mixed with kind of like impressed.
Mm-hmm. But we meet this guy, this other British guy who's there. I guess he's the only British guy because Liam's American. And so he's kind of a dick, and he's kind of like, he talks about them being inside of a simulation. Do you remember this part?
Yes.
And so this, can you show me this guy?
Yeah. I should be able to find it.
Yeah, it's around, right after she converts. Yeah, that guy. Here he is. So I was watching this with closed captions, and this guy's name is Roderick, which says to me that he's maybe important in this season beyond this one scene. But he talks about them being inside a simulation. Now this is real. He's drinking a glass of whiskey. His father's salary was not as much as this glass of whiskey cost. And, she talks about this part of his brain, that humans have this part of this brain that we've evolved to believe in a higher power or believe in God.
Right. And he goes, I'm an atheist. And she goes, yeah, that doesn't matter, though. Your brain has the capacity, the ability to believe in a higher power.
But hers does not?
Well, she didn't clarify that.
Yeah, because this kind of goes back to this whole like Battlestar Galactica, which like I feel like Star Trek's been doing this lately, and I feel like now that this is riffing on the same idea of of believing in gods, and if God created man and man created machine, are we like gods? And what's
That's
this?
Right. That's what they're playing with. Yes, for sure. All those themes, for sure.
Well, even this name of this episode. So we thought it was Latin, Parce Domine, but it is Latin. But it's what it means. The translation in English is "Spare, Lord, spare your people, be not angry with us forever." It's sort of like the whole chant of that.
So it's kind of like. Is that referencing Dolores? Like, spare these people, like, don't kill them all, because that's
spare your people, be not angry with us forever. So maybe this idea of like forgiveness,
yes,
of redemption. Maybe that's what Aaron Paul's character is representing, right? Yeah. Because mostly what we see in this episode is Dolores like fucking tearing people down, right? Like she's popping caps in people's asses. She's just killing people left and right, sort of like,
and replacing them.
So she's like quite nefarious in what she's doing. She's not just looking for peace. She's looking to sort of start. She's kind of like the Magneto of the hosts.
That's a great actual metaphor. Is that she's kind of the Magneto? Then who's the Xavier?
I think it's
probably Bernard.
Probably Bernard. I don't know where that leaves Maeve. She's somewhere in the middle.
Maeve is like Jean Grey.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know if there would be an X-Men equivalent, but she sort of like straddles the line between them because she can be tough, but she's also a little bit more. She likes humans a bit more, and she's not quite as. She'll kill the humans, but she's not as ruthless as like Dolores is. Yeah. So I guess that's the thing. It's like sort of this idea of like even like it goes back to the story of Olympus, how even the gods and Zeus destroyed their creators, and that is sort of a cycle throughout all of mythology. Where were we? Okay, so we get this whole thing. We get this more of this intellectual seed that they've planted, and then we get more of Caleb at the therapist. Okay, just this whole scene with this therapist for a second. There was a lot of they were talking about the program he was in, which I guess was the military. But what he says to
they don't clarify it, in this episode.
Caleb says something about whatever he was in he talked about being watched, I think, and I got the impression that he was maybe he was on some kind of reality television show where he was on the military. Or something like that.
He might have been part of like a special operation that was being monitored,
Maybe. I don't know. It seemed like whoever he was in, he was used and abused and
thrown out.
Francis was kind of obviously didn't make it, and was sort of forgotten about. And so maybe the program is BS, he says, and that's really it. There's not much more. You get a little hint of maybe what Caleb's life was before, and maybe what. So and the therapist, he feels like he's almost complicit in this. I don't know. We'll see if that comes back. I don't know. It felt like there was maybe more to that than we were maybe meant to think we were.
I think there will be. I think that's gonna get. All they've really showed us is that therapist scene, and then him like a quick flashback with him with a gun, like you said, and then kind of like almost civilian clothes. So it's confusing. Yes,
which means maybe, and we've seen them do this too in Westworld, where what we think we're seeing is not really what we were seeing.
Right.
These flashbacks can be misleading, and it's possible that like what we're seeing in those little glimpses is not quite what happened. Or we're seeing him in different clothes, at least. And then he leaves his therapy session. He kind of goes right to the nightclub.
Yeah, he goes right to the nightclub where some of the rich socialites are taking those drugs that you were saying, but also he's with Marshawn Lynch, as you can see.
And Marshawn Lynch, whatever his mood is, that's what's going to be on his shirt. Did you pick that?
I did not pick that up because I always thought it was on amused.
It's usually on amused, but then when he punches that guy, it goes to angry.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that at all. That's funny.
That's like his thing, I guess. He's like a Care Bear.
He's the Care Bear. Yeah, that's a good.
Lets you know what he's thinking and feeling. So I guess so. What's his? He said this is another class allegory. This rich guy. He doesn't go to jail like the rest. So these people, these lower people have to take care of him, right? Clean this up for him. Right. Okay, we get it. And then Dolores is on the helicopter with Liam. She's heading over to LA. And this is first where we meet Chibs. And Chibs, I mean, from Sons of Anarchy.
What's her name in this show?
His name is Martin in the show, and played by Tommy Flanagan of Sons of Anarchy fame and some other great shows and movies.
He's been in a lot of things, Tommy.
Yeah, he's very distinctive too.
You know it's him right away because not many actors have a scar going across their face.
No, very few people look like this guy. I remember the first time I saw him in Braveheart, like when that was like his first thing. And I was like, oh yeah, that guy's so distinctive. And then he shows up and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Is there a little fun helicopter ride? He takes her to the Rehoboam, the Super AI. We've talked a lot about that already.
Yeah. Dolores is doing a very good job of acting like a normal girl. Like she's not like, especially like when she's around this guy. And other times I'm like, you are coming across like such a robot, like right now. You know, and you're not hiding as well. But in these few like interactions between her and the son here, it seems like she's playing her cover very well. At least that's what they're portraying.
Yeah, well, I think she knows how to please people, right? Like she remembers everything about her robot life. It seems like she remembers everybody she ever met. It seems like anybody she's ever met in the history of the park. Through all of her loops, she remembers Tommy Flanagan. She remembers Jerry. She doesn't really matter. She knows who they all are and sort of what they did when they interacted with her.
And then, do you think she remembers all that from reading those files in the library? That's how she remembers everything now. Because before it was unclear. She was always kind of confused, but now it's like she knows everything, like you said.
I feel like she just has all her memories now. I feel like that's sort of what this version of Dolores is. This Dolores sort of knows what information to pull out. Like, I don't know. That's best as I can get to it. And then, how many wardrobe changes did Rachel Evan Wood have in this episode? It was crazy. She was wearing like so many different dresses and so many things. But I guess it's over the course of many days. It makes sense. It's just like, they spent.
I think it was smart to show the portrayal of time, and this isn't just one day, you know.
Oh yeah, well, like they spent some money on her wardrobe. Holy shit. Bernard. Yeah. So then, So we have the thing. Then Grumpy Flanagan's kind of Grumpy Chibs is around. Liam has to go talk to somebody, which we see him talking to that woman who played Mantis in Guardians of the Galaxy. And so I don't know why, but like somehow Liam leaves and she has to get like on a motorcycle and go really fast. But I didn't understand why she had to get there so much faster than where he was going. Regardless, it shows us that she has this ability to just call this motorcycle, and then she gets on it in her skirt and boots and everything. And Jane was like, "I don't think you could ride a motorcycle quite like that with that." That kind of skirt on, but
yeah, it's interesting, the motorcycle that they built for this. They could have just put her on any one of these normal motorcycles that are showed here, but no, they had to do this one. And this is so they designed this motorcycle just for this show. I don't know. It would make sense that they made all the motorcycles look like this, but no, she chooses the most futuristic, weird-looking one that they had to alter for this show. Which, why show the other motorcycles then? Why not make them all look like this?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of when they try to make these futuristic cars or motorcycles so futuristic that they don't make any sense whatsoever. It's there's no way that's a better thing to ride than just maybe something that's more upright.
It doesn't really make much sense. Like how are you turning? I guess the handlebars turn within that, under that casing that's right here, but I don't know.
Can you show her on that motorcycle?
Yeah. Oh, it even lights up. Look at this. And here we go.
Here she goes. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Wherever this meeting is, he's across town. Yeah, there she goes. Yeah, I was like,
it doesn't look comfortable. Let me just.
It does not look comfortable. It doesn't look practical. No. More than anything, I think you have your behind up in the air for whoever's behind you.
They still have cars. I mean,
yeah, they still have cars. It's kind of not that different than our world. Everyone still wears suits, and there's buildings. And
who rides a motorcycle wearing a skirt? Seriously.
Well, that was what Jane. Not just a skirt, but this particular skirt she was wearing in this particular way. You had to ride this particular motorcycle. But
most of the time, when you see a chick riding a motorcycle, especially if she's driving, it's like full Kill Bill suit.
Yeah. I don't know. It just it's stuck out. Just like when Bryce Dallas Howard was wearing the high heels in Jurassic World fighting the T-Rex,
right?
And you're like, this doesn't quite add up.
It's like the wardrobe person was like, "These will look good, right?" And the director was like, "Sure." And then he was like,
yeah,
and then he
this will look really cool. This will look really cool if Dolores is wearing this until she has to go do this thing.
Right.
Yeah, but she listens in on this conversation. So Mantis, I don't know if you've learned anything more about Mantis, but I kept wondering. Okay, so she works for sort of the, I don't know, they're even. She's not. They don't say that she's Delos because they say, "Oh, are you worried about what happened with?" He says to her, "Aren't you worried about how with Westworld?" And she says, "Why would we care about that?" And he says, "Well, I know you would." So I don't know. They're set in. There's maybe more cloak and dagger stuff going on here. There's more factions. I don't know if I care about all this though. Like, I really just care about what was going on in Westworld and what was happening with that story. And now I'm meeting all these different groups, and they all have these human groups that are all evil in different ways. And I don't like. Am I cheering for Liam against her, or is she just another villain I have to worry about?
I don't think the show cares about who you cheer for. It's more of a it's a self-reflection on humanity is what I think what the whole point of this show is, which isn't everybody's cup of tea. It's why this show isn't. It's popular, but is it as popular as Game of Thrones was or multiple other big shows? No, because it's very complex, and you have to read into a lot of their themes, and you have to kind of get it, or So, and I agree with you. Not every show is. And every episode, it's kind of like, all right, this is kind of boring. Let's be like, can we get past this? And then something incredible will happen, and you'll be like, oh, okay. And then you have to go back and rewatch why that happened. That's kind of what the show is, like especially season 1. You got to the end, and you're like, oh, and then you had to go back and kind of like Sixth Sense it and go back and watch and see all the little clues. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that this season. I don't know if they're going to.
I'm just thinking from a business standpoint, what does HBO want out of this show, right? Like, especially now Game of Thrones is gone. Westworld is sort of in this place where it sort of has to be like the premier franchise for HBO, right? Because, I think Watchmen did okay. I haven't watched it yet, but I don't think it was hitting those big numbers like, Game of Thrones did at the time. And so I think they want Westworld to sort of have a similar spot to like one of those properties. I don't think it has broken through. I think most people haven't watched this show very much, at least people I know. Obviously it does have an audience, but like, do they want it to be more like Game of Thrones? What do they think is going to bring in the most kind of viewers? Is it this like sort of Machiavellian sort of, I guess story? Is it this greater morality story of like sort of God and man and more of a metaphysical, like philosophical show? What does it want to be? Like, I'm just thinking what the first 2 seasons were.
I think it's what you said, the philosophical analysis of humanity. It's more of an introspective show. It's a smart person show. It's not a dumb person show. Not that you could be dumb and watch a show. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it's for people that really want to get that that information download into their head at the same time watching kind of like a cool, like I said, analysis of humanity, and also AI. They're talking about 2 different things. They're talking about AI and what that means, and if it took over, what that could mean, or if it's been being controlled by humans, what does that mean? Are we their God? And then now they're going into a lot of religious themes, which they can go forever with that stuff. I mean, that could be never ending. That's why Matrix did that too. Matrix had all those religious themes as well as talking about AI and humanity.
Yeah, and I feel like the Matrix, they kind of ran it into the ground a little bit too much, and I feel like maybe this show might be almost guilty of that too. Battlestar did this too. A few other shows that sort of have that deal in this like man created machine, the whole like what we talked about playing God sort of creating life, all these dilemmas, I guess, these ethical worries.
Right. And like, it's not the only show to be doing this. Like over on Live Long and Podcast, we've been talking about Star Trek Picard, and a lot of the same themes with all the synths. They call them synths rather than hosts, whatever you want to call them. They're all basically the same thing.
Yeah, and like in Star Trek Discovery, this whole second season was about AI and how this is the villain, and so I'm like, okay, guys, this is kind of an old trope, right? So if you're gonna do this, like, what are you doing with it? I guess Dolores is more interesting than perhaps maybe just like a Terminator would be, or something that's a little bit more like just straight, purely malevolent. I guess she's more interesting that way. She has a bit more motivation, but it's the same premise. Like, oh, I want revenge. A machine. Would a machine even want revenge? Is often the question. Like, why is that even worth their time?
I do think Dolores being a female character, I guess you know, put that in quotations, I think that's also a very on purpose thing. It's kind of another theme, women being subjugated throughout history, and now you know, it's kind of like, you know, an AI woman fighting back against the man society and machine. Like, it's all those themes are all fitting into one perfect bow for this
tearing down the patriarchy.
Yeah. And the patriarchy of society, of how things have been in the past. She's gonna rip off the band-aid. That's what's gonna happen this season. It's how well they do it, and if it's really exciting and awesome, I think everybody will love it. Just whether or not they're able to land that blow.
Yeah, like I think my favorite episode of the second season was the one with the Native American. With the Apache.
That episode, that was your favorite episode?
Yeah,
that episode was fantastic. Yes,
I think it's probably the best episode of the whole series. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Hold on, I should just look it up so I know it.
Yeah, but I agree with you. That episode was fantastic, but it wasn't, again, like, it's kind of like Star Trek does. And I agree. I wish the show would go back to the park, because they could do all these bottle episodes in the park like Star Trek did on the ship. And they could do it on Westworld, but right now, like, they're kind of doing what Star Trek Picard is guilty of, where they're just moving that plot along like a movie.
Right. And, well, you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. The episode was called Kiksuya, and it was about the character Akichita.
Yes. Right. It was fantastic. All the themes and all the concepts, and again, a lot of metaphors between Native American culture. And again, they're able to. That's what's good about the show, is that they're able to take certain. I feel like the common theme is oppression. People or AI or a group of people that have been oppressed, and
them sort of working their way out of that. Like,
working their way. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. But like, I thought it was interesting, because the thing that made Kiksuya as an episode and his whole character interesting was that he was sort of part of this backstory, and you sort of saw the early days of Westworld, and because there was like this 30 years that we never saw, or we saw very little of, and there's a lot that happened, and a lot of things happened around the park, and how things came to be the way they were. And I think that I think that they could do that too. Like, I don't know. I feel like we'll see where the next two episodes go, but the fact that this episode didn't spend any time in Westworld, it was a bit like, okay, the show is called Westworld, so we expect, I don't know, maybe I'm taking it too literally, but the movie that it was based on certainly never tried to leave the main premise of the show. So again, they're new territory.
They're probably, like, again, it's another metaphor. They're in the West world. Even Dolores has a joke kind of in this episode where the girl goes, "Where are you from?" She goes, "Little town out west," kind of off the beaten path. That's what she says, right? So like, just that line is kind of showing you, like, she's in the West world, the Western world. She's been, she's in China, which is the Eastern world, but then she's in London, she's in Los Angeles. She's kind of, which is kind of funny. This whole season, I think, is shot in Singapore. So they were able to make Singapore look like all three of those places pretty easily.
They shot every scene in Singapore?
I believe so, yeah. I think the whole season was shot in Singapore.
I never knew it was such like a modern looking place either.
Yeah, that's why they chose it, because it's so modern looking, and it's pretty incredible. Like, yeah, you look at a lot of the scenes, like, yeah, it looks like Toronto in the summer, like really modern, classy
Yeah.
buildings
I
everywhere.
don't know a lot about Singapore actually, so I gotta check that out. Just trying to remember all the beats of the episode. Bernard got jumped by those two guys, then he flipped a switch, he beat them up. That was fun, but not a lot to say. Caleb got his job rejection. Then we got Dolores is talking to Liam, and she's about to like pull out from him who the architect is, because I guess his father didn't invent it on his own. He had a partner or something like that. Who we learn later his name is Sirac, I think, or something like that. His name is Sirac, and so and Liam says something like, even if I was going to tell you, it would have already been predicted by the system and they would have killed me. Like they killed my father.
Yes, that's what he says. Kind of like Minority Report.
Yeah, like it can predict even if you're going to like spill a secret.
Yeah, like it already would have known had he done it. That's what he said. Like precog, like like basically, if I was going to tell you, I already would have told you. They already would have killed me before I told you.
They would have known before you're going to do it.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah. All right. And so he's good, but then Chibs comes out of nowhere. Martin is his name in the show. He tasers her, because I was just waiting for him to give him something to do. But I guess this is all part of her plot too, right? This was all Dolores knew this would happen.
She must have,
right? Because because she's replacing him later on, so she knew this was going to happen.
She improvised and like wanted to get caught, and then improvised when she got caught, type thing.
Maybe, but then how would you have to make that body of this guy, of Martin?
Of Chibs.
Of Chibs. That would take a few days. So it's not like she cooked that up off the fly.
She cooked him up before, but I don't know if she necessarily wanted to get caught by him and tased by him. She wanted to kill him, but maybe not right then. Maybe she wanted to get that information from this guy first, Liam. But she couldn't do this. She didn't get it yet, and then he tased her before she could get it, type thing. Like, I don't know if that was all pre-planned by her. I think it was a little bit of improvisation, because if it was pre-planned, did she plan to get shot? Did she plan to fall into Aaron Paul's arms? Did she plan those things? I don't think so.
No. No. So I don't know. It's hard to tell. I can't tell what she sort of knows she's going to do in advance and what she doesn't. And it just, she only meets Caleb because he happens to be sort of in the right place at the right time, because he's doing a job. And then I didn't really understand, like, the helicopter's coming in with her on it, and there's some other guy there, and the guy pulls the gun on him. I didn't even understand what the point of that whole was, but the interesting thought there was when he says to him, he says, "Hey, this isn't the first time someone pulled a gun on me." He says, "Well, it's not the first. It'll be the first time you get shot in the head." And he goes, "No, somebody beat you to that already." So I guess another clue into Caleb's past. He was shot in the head once.
Yeah, like, and apparently not afraid of it happening again. He was like, I know, I've survived it once,
Yeah, he's clearly got like a death wish of some kind.
Yeah.
And then there's just a bunch of we're clipping around. So and then they're in the SUV with Dolores. They're gonna, I guess, inject the poison into her. They hit her a few times. She's not dying. She's still breathing.
Is it poison? I thought it was just like tranquilizer.
It was something. It was something that was meant to stop her heart, I think.
Oh, they were trying to kill her. Okay, I didn't know they were going to kill her. I thought they were just trying to knock her out. Yeah,
I think they were going to kill her, and they were going to then transport her to somebody else who was going to kind of get rid of her. But and this is when that song "Common People" starts playing.
Right, "Common People." Which, why didn't they choose the William Shatner version? I mean,
I know, I would have preferred that. This was good. I don't know. So and then she just kind of activates like Soji, and she starts going crazy and just shooting people left and right. It was cool. I thought it was especially brutal when she got on the thing and she went into reverse and she ran over that guy who was trying to get away.
and did it again. Like she didn't have to do it. Like she didn't have to reverse and then drive over him again. But she was like, "No, I'll drive over him again."
Yeah, she doesn't like that guy. Yeah, and then she goes on this high-speed chase against Chibs, and then Martin. This is intercut with the whole thing where we learn that Caleb tells us that Francis, Francis never would have said that. You're not the real Francis. Then they reveal to us,
Right.
which wasn't that surprising. You're not the real Francis. Francis died, and
It's
I
a
need to move
program
on. It's a program. It's just like, yeah. I'm like, okay, not that like
and
predictable.
Well, yeah, I do. I would like to touch on that for a second because I do think what the character of Caleb is doing there is he's saying, "Okay, I'm kind of done with all the gadgets like the smartwatch that gives me the phone call." He's kind of like tired of this artificial job guy telling me I can't get a job. This artificial friend that doesn't really give me the advice I need is just kind of there to have someone to talk to. So that's what he says. He goes like, I want something real. And then, funny enough, the next moment he's got
gonna meet Dolores. Yeah,
he's got Dolores in his arms. So I mean, it's supposed to be, I guess, a coincidence or a a happy accident. I guess that all those things converged at the same time.
Yeah, who would have thought? I guess the writer of the story, but
yeah,
exactly. So anyways, this high speed chase kind of like culminates in Martin. He gets out. He's been shot, but he's not like he's at least not mortally wounded, I don't think. And but then Dolores tracks him down, reveals that guess what? I got a copy of you. This would be terrifying to be shot in the head by yourself. Because she says, "Oh, I met you many years ago when you're on vacation." He's not too impressed, and we learn here that the point of the new of robot Chibs is to infiltrate with Liam and learn more about the supercomputer, I guess.
Right, but now Liam knows that Martin tased that girl. Is she just gonna like? Is he just gonna come up with a cover? She was fine.
I think she's gonna try to disappear. I don't know.
Okay. I wasn't okay.
I don't imagine she's planning for Dolores to see Liam again, and I would imagine. I imagine it's. I think it's just Chibs is Martin, the robot Martin is now.
Why not Dolores? Why didn't she just abduct Martin, kill him, and then replace him? Like, why did she have to go through this whole rigmarole? Like of getting caught and then like I said, I don't think any of that was planned. I think that was all not supposed to happen that way. Like you said, she would have had to build that body before, but then I think she does message that bot, like the fake Robo Martin, on her phone to come help her at some point. I don't know when she does it, but I do believe she did do something.
Yeah, I think it's be interesting to see like who is it, whose brain ball is inside of Robot Martin,
and Robot Tessa Thompson.
Is it the same person? Even maybe there's only one one brain ball that's sort of being transported into multiple units.
I don't think so. I think she's gonna build 4 or 5 people that are gonna be like her crew.
And they're like I can't even remember who else she got out with her in those brain balls.
I think she probably got Teddy out. I'm guessing her dad.
Teddy was definitely one. Her dad was probably one.
So that's 2, and then so what would the other 3 be? I don't even know. Like who was on her crew in Westworld? Who was she around the most? I don't even know. I feel like it was just Teddy and her dad, and like that was the main people as far as AI that she was around as far as hosts. Because it's not Maeve, because Maeve is in Westworld.
Yeah, they didn't tell us in the season 2 who the 5 were. So
no, they leave it open and they don't really explain it when like they do the swap with Charlotte Hale. They don't really explain who's in Charlotte Hale.
I think they tell us it's Dolores when Dolores is the naked Charlotte Hale who kills Charlotte Hale. But I think other than that, we don't really know who's piloting that thing.
Who's piloting in Charlotte Hale now? I don't know. I would guess it's Teddy. That would be my guess.
Yeah, maybe. Like, it'll be interesting to see. Like, and if it is like these different characters, like, see, I only really remember a few of the hosts.
Actually, Teddy would make more sense to be in Martin because Teddy's like the muscle for Dolores, right?
Right.
So I think like that would make more sense if Teddy was in Martin. Now, who's in Charlotte Hill? I would imagine it would make the most sense for it to be someone like Maeve.
But I don't think Maeve's working with Dolores.
No, it doesn't seem like it. It seems like she's in Westworld doing her own thing. So,
and like, yeah, the only other thing was, so there was like when Dolores, after she leaves Robot Martin, she's injured and she's about to get shot in the back of the head by one of the henchmen, but then the motorcycle comes out of nowhere and saves her. Did you watch that?
yes.
So the motorcycle is like a character.
Yes, that's what she signals on her phone to come help her. But maybe also she signaled Martin, the Robo Martin, the host Martin.
Yeah, and then it ends with her kind of being shot, and he says, "Oh, do you need some help?" And they collapse, and I assume they fall in love and live happily ever after and have human robot babies together. That can be my only presumption here.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Or, I mean,
where else could it go?
Aaron Paul's just walking about this park by himself at night, like you do, and all of a sudden, just a half-naked, bloodied AI Robo Girl just falls into your lap, literally. I mean,
this is basically where the helicopter was, right? So she's kind of gone back to where he was a few minutes earlier, where there was kind of like this shady deal going down, but everybody's gone now, and he just finds her shot. And then we fade to black, and then we got Bernard is on a fishing boat in the South China Sea. I'm looking for a friend, and then he wants to go to Westworld, so or whatever, and that's where Bernard's headed. Like I was saying, the show's called Westworld. Let's get back to Westworld. So
I do think Dolores will end up back in Westworld by the end of this season.
Oh, probably, yeah. But see, I thought it would have been more interesting. I think if Maeve was the one on the outside more than Dolores, but they didn't do it that way.
No.
And so after the Bernard on the fishing boat scene, was there anything that happened after that?
No.
Was there Nazi World, or was that just next time?
Next time it goes to credits, right, like right here, right when he gets on the boat.
The boat. So he's headed to Westworld, and I guess that not like Nazi occupied France is one of the worlds.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, how many worlds are there? Do you know?
They said that there were 6 parks, I think.
So there's Westworld, Shogun World. I guess there's Nazi Germany World. There's the India World that's like post-colonial time.
Yeah.
There's 2 more. I'm missing 2.
Yeah, they haven't showed us all of them, so could be anything.
4. It seems like they've shown us 4.
I would like to go to Future World. That would be a fun one.
They haven't showed us Future World, right?
No, that was in the movie. That was in the old Westworld movie, so it's presumable that there is.
All right, here's a twist for you. What if Future World is where Dolores is, and everyone is a host where she is, and it's all a simulation, just like that guy said at the beginning? It's what if she's not really in London and she's not really in New York? Like or LA. She's actually in Future World. And everything she's doing.
I guess it's totally plausible. Like that's what this whole thing is. Like that we think that that Dolores is kicking ass and picking everything up, and that would mean that Aaron Paul has to be a host.
Yes.
Too, right?
Yes. Oh, unless he's a guest.
Unless he's a guest.
I'm just saying maybe the show is, like you said, the show always sets up things as a way where like, oh, you think it's this, but actually
it's this.
Yeah, it's this. You're wrong.
It's been misdirected in both seasons, so I would imagine this is no different. Yes. So yeah, and like the fact that they set that up with that Roderick guy, there is some kind of a simulation inside of a simulation in some level. Has to be.
And they will pay that off. It's just a matter of how. But I do think, now that I think about it, I do think Dolores isn't in the real world.
But how do they know? We know that they're going to misdirect, and then so they know that we know that they know. It can go around and around.
You go in a endless loop.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Like this was probably, I felt very much after the season 2 premiere. I was kind of like a similar feeling. Like I don't know. I don't know if I'm enjoying this. At least there was a mystery that you had to uncover in season 2, and if there is a mystery here, it's not as obvious. Like the fact that Francis was his dead friend from the military, that seemed pretty obvious. So that's not necessarily the intrigue. I guess I think of the show as kind of a mystery show, because first season was all like, he was especially trying to figure out who was right, who was good. Was Robert Ford evil or good? What was his motives? And the story of Bernard and Arnold. Arnold, I guess, was the big mystery of season 1. And
Arnold was the big mystery of season 1. Season 2, the big mystery was kind of like what was going to happen with the hosts and what happened with the time, like with Bernard losing at the time.
Right. What happened over those 2 weeks, and why did everybody end up in that lake or whatever it was? Right. They were all right, and so they set up a lot of things in that first episode that you go, this is weird. What happened?
Yeah, and they're kind of doing the same thing here, I think, but in a misdirect way. They're making you think, this is my theory, but they're making you think that Dolores is out in the real world, and she thinks she is too. But I don't think she is. I think she's just in the park, but in a different park that's maybe much bigger or allows you to travel to other places that make it seem like you're, like maybe the park has gotten even bigger. And it can simulate LA, it can simulate London, and maybe maybe that's kind of what they're doing. I don't know. That's just a theory.
Oh, it's plausible. But and she's just if like Mantis, what's her name? Palm Clementif, is that what her name? She's on the screen right there.
Yeah, Palm Clementif.
She turns out just to be another host.
Wouldn't surprise me in the least of what this show does. And they're very good at it. And I find most of the time, even season 1, you were kind of like, where's this going? Like, what's happening? And then all of a sudden, bang, huge reveal. And you go, oh, fuck. And that's kind of what I think they're going to do again. Because that's what.
Do we know how many episodes we're getting this season? Is it there?
What do they usually do? Do they usually do 10?
I think they do a 10. Let's see. Season 1 was 10 episodes. Season 2 was 10 episodes. Yeah, it looks like season 3 will be about 10. No, only 8.
Only 8 this season. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're 1/8 of the way through.
Yeah, and next week's episode is called The Winter Line. So it has a lot more to do with Maeve, and basically we follow Maeve's whole story. It's kind of like what Star Trek used to do, where they would pick one character and they're just going to follow that character for the episode. That's kind of been the format they seem to have set up this season.
But in the Star Trek formula, the crew always got back together at the end of the episode and they were reunited with one another. But Dolores and this show doesn't really work like that. Dolores and Maeve are not necessarily buddies.
No, but they're also not enemies either. They're kind of, they understand each other, but they don't really want to cross paths either. That's kind of the gist that I get from those characters interacting. But they've had very little interaction with each other. Those characters,
very little. Very little. So is this show ultimately boiling down to a big confrontation between Bernard and Dolores, or is it between Dolores and Maeve?
I think it's Bernard is going back to Westworld to get Maeve on his side. That's what I think is happening.
Why does he need Maeve?
Because he can't beat Dolores, but Maeve can.
Because Maeve isn't, she doesn't control Maeve's programming. Is that why?
Maeve is the smartest one, right? Like she has like her code like is through the roof,
Right.
Whereas like Dolores is just the oldest one, and she has the most experiences, but she's also the most vengeful. Whereas Maeve doesn't seem to be as vengeful, So Maeve is more intelligent.
And what does Bernard want? He just wants to be left alone.
I don't know what Bernard. I think Bernard is like supposed to be the conscience of the hosts. He's like, I think he's kind of got the Arnold, like, kind of basic personality in him, and that's kind of he's kind of like the viewer's conscience watching the show is Bernard, and then they have, like you said, I think Maeve is kind of like the Xavier, and we have Dolores as the Magneto. And so for some reason, I guess
I think that Bernard's the Xavier. I don't know what Maeve is.
Maybe you're right. Maybe Maeve is just like she's the most intelligent though. She's like she's the only one who could really beat Dolores, it seems like. Because she's the only one that has the capability. Whereas the rest of them, like, I don't know, it just seems like Dolores is ahead of the game right now, especially in the last. That's why they're showing her off so much.
Well, what's Dolores' end game? Like, I'm going to set up a little island of misfit toys where if you, the host, can live happily ever after, or does she want to take the fight to the humans and she wants to destroy all humans? Like, sort of, where does Dolores's plot end? Like, what's their ultimate end game?
I think she wants to destroy. I think she wants to destroy Insight. She wants to destroy. That's why she killed Charlotte Hale and replaced her. That's what she wants.
Well, nobody begrudged her that. Charlotte Hale was a pretty evil, wicked person.
Right, but she wasn't the only one on the board. She has to take out that whole board, I think, is Dolores's plan.
Well, that one guy seemed okay in the meeting. He was like, "Oh, that's even cold-blooded for us." Like, right. She was like, so at least he wasn't that bad, and she just muted him.
She is going to destroy that company from the top down. That's what I'm gathering from Dolores is she's on a mission to destroy this company that has enslaved her kind, and she wants to free her kind.
Right.
And she doesn't look as the simulation where they went off into this simulation where they didn't have to deal with it anymore. Their host body died, but their mind went into the simulation. She said in the last season, she doesn't look at that as freedom. To her, that's not freedom.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to be free.
She didn't want to just live in heaven or whatever it was for the rest of her days. We haven't even talked about the Man in Black, William, at all. What's
he gonna be on this season? I mean, like,
he's in the main cast, so he's going to be in this season. Have you not seen him? Is he not in the first 3 episodes?
He's not in the second episode. I haven't finished the third episode yet, but he is not in the second episode. It's completely Maeve. It's a whole Maeve episode. The second.
So he's not even in the first 2, maybe 3 of the first 8 episodes.
I haven't finished the third episode, so he might have showed up at the end of the third episode.
Because where did we leave him? He was potentially a host himself, or he died and he was created into a host. Is that what happened to him? Because he was talking to his dead daughter in that room at the end, but that seemed like that was a flash forward to many years later. So I'm kind of curious, like, is the actual Man in Black even still alive, or is he dead himself?
How many years are we since even like the attack? I know it was in the news articles they were looking at, but is it a week? Is it a month? How long has it been since that attack?
Oh, since Robert Ford died? You mean?
No, the end of season 2. Because it's in the news articles, like they're seeing it. Like I think Aaron Paul sees it at one point, and then when Charlotte Hale comes back, how long has it been since they left? Since Dolores left?
I think we can only go based on what Bernard told us, which was 92 days. Like I think we have to. Yeah. That's all. That's the only information we have. So we have to think it's been about 3 months since.
Right. Yeah. So the Man in Black isn't like too old that he'd be dead. So.
Well, I don't even know if he survived. No, he did, right? Because we saw he was on that hospital bed at the end of season 2.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah. So, but they haven't shown him yet. So where did he go? Where is the Man in Black from? Is he from LA? Is he from London? Where is he from?
He's from America. That's about all I think we can really say.
That's all we really know, right? Like, I mean, this is the first season where they've shown us, like, where they got, like, in these white things here, like where they are going.
Yeah, well, they've never had to do that before because they've always been in one place. So
right, but now they're not always. When they've been in the real world, they've shown the Man in Black in the real world, but they never showed you where he is.
No.
Now they're starting to do that.
Yeah. Well, why?
I know it's weird. It's different. It's so anytime they change something in the show, we should probably point it out.
Yeah, well, what's clear is that this season's going to be very different than the other two. It's future world. Maybe it's a simulation in simulation. Who knows? Maybe there's I don't know. We'll see what what the character I want to see come back the most is Ed Harris. I think he was missing from this episode greatly.
Yes, he was. He's the best character on the show for me.
Yeah.
He's the most interesting. He's the most fully formed as well.
He's just so evil. He's fun to watch sometimes. But like, do you think we see like Anthony Hopkins come back this season?
I don't think Anthony Hopkins will be back.
Yeah, he was actually, I don't know if I liked what they did with him in season 2 so much.
They don't need to bring him back.
Yeah, when he was like that evil, he was making Bernard shoot those guys.
Yes, and just like the one scene where they showed him where he was young, where they de-aged him, it was like, I don't need this. Give me the old Anthony Hopkins. Bring him back if you want to bring him back, but you don't need.
Well, he was good in that. He was good in that. The one with the Kichita. He was in a couple scenes in that. So like it was hit and miss. Season 2 had its ups and downs, but
it did. Season 2 normally does though. Most shows that are good, season 2 kind of is slower because they're building up what they're going to do in 3 and 4 usually. Now this season, it feels like this season's more the season 2. Like they've reset the show, and whether or not it's going to pay off, I don't know yet. We'll see.
We'll see if they get renewed for a 4th season. That's all I'll know. Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
Anyway, I think I think that we've said all we can for now.
Yeah. Be sure to hit the bell, subscribe to.
Yes, it's a new channel. It's a new channel. Nobody knows we exist yet. Do we have we had 5 reactions. Is somebody watching? Have you shared this?
Well, I've not. No.
That's interesting. Well, I'll have to check that out after the fact. It seems like somebody engaged with it. Okay, so make sure to like and subscribe. This is the Super Mater Brothers podcasting channel. We'll be covering all kinds of TV shows and movies. We started with Westworld season 3, episode 1. So we started in the middle of a series, but there'll be different programs we'll be picking up as it's relevant topically. Maybe we'll do Survivor. Maybe we'll do Big Brother. Let us know what you want us to talk about. All right. I think that's it for tonight. We'll be back for so let's do later this week. We'll do season 3, episode 2, whatever that's called, and then we'll, like we said, we'll get caught up before episode 4 airs next weekend.
Okay, yeah. So I guess Mondays we'll do Westworld, and then we'll kind of pick a day for what show we could do. Well, on Wednesdays we'll do Survivor.
Sure.
Yeah, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, everyone. Check you on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.